Hey everyone, welcome back to Code of the Row, where we're learning how to code using GDScript in the Godot engine. In today's lesson, we're going to dive into one of the most important concepts in programming, variables and data types. So grab your keyboards and fire up Godot, let's go ahead and get started. Variables are like containers that store information. Whether you're tracking a player's health, the score of a game, or even just some text, variables are the way we do it in GDScript. So today we'll cover what a variable is, the different types of data we can use, and how to create and use variables in GDScript. All right, so let's hop into the Godot editor, and I already have this main file that we created in the last video, and let's just go ahead and create some variables. So I'm going to create a function called funcReady, and this will simply just play as soon as we start our game. And in here, I'm just going to write a comment called declaring variables. And now I'm going to do var player name is equal to row, like so. And then I'll do var player underscore health is equal to 100. And I'll create another variable. And this 100 is of type int. And then I'll do another variable called var player mana is equal to 50.5, which is of a type float. And then I will also do a var is game over is equal to false. So we've created our 4 variables, and each of these are storing different types of data. So the first one we have row, which is a string, 100, which is integer, 50.5, which is a float, and false, which is a boolean. In GDScript, there are several types of data that variables can hold. Let's go over some of the most common ones. So integers consist of whole numbers like 100 or -50, and floats are numbers with decimals such as 50.5. Strings are text, which is always surrounded by quotes, like row, or I could even do single quotes, like so. And booleans are always true or false. Let's break this down in our code. Player health is an integer, and integer are just whole numbers. You will use these things for like health, score, and counters. In this case, we've set the player's health to 100. This is a pretty typical use for integers. Next, we have player mana, which is a float. And floats are numbers that can have a decimal point. Floats are useful when you need more precision, like for percentages, speed, or any value that isn't a whole number. Player name is just a string, which is just a piece of text. Strings are usually surrounded by either single or double quotes. In this case, we're storing the player's name as a string. This could be useful for displaying on the screen or saving in the profile. And finally, is game over is a boolean. Booleans are either true or false. They're great for tracking states, like whether the game is over, if an enemy is alive, or even if a door is locked. Here, we're using false because the game isn't over yet, but later on we can change this to true when the player loses. One more quick tip, it's a good habit to name your variables in a way that makes their purpose clear. For example, player health is much more clear than just calling it health. It tells us exactly what the variable is for. Now let's see how we can use these variables. One useful tool is printing values to the console, so we can check that our code is working. Let's add this to the script. So down here, I'll add a comment called print out the values of the variables. And now I'm simply just going to print each of these variables. So I'll call it print and do player name, like so. And then print player health. And then I'll print the player mana, and I'll print is game over. So now let's go ahead and hit Control S to save and run the scene by clicking either this play button or clicking F5 on the keyboard. And now when I run, you'll see on the bottom in the console, it'll show row, which is our string, 100, which is our player health, 50.5, which is our player mana, and is game over, which is false, and it'll show false over here. And as you can see, our variables are printed out exactly as we've set them. This is super helpful when you're debugging your code. So to summarize, we've learned what variables are and how to create them in GDScript, the different data types such as integers, floats, strings, and booleans, and how to print variables to the console to check their values. In future lessons, we'll use variables even more as we build complex logic into our games. Thanks for joining me today's lesson on variables and data types. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe for more awesome GDScript tutorials. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching Code of the Row.